Hi all. Today I'm going to tell you about a movie where a couple of friends decide to climb the tallest tower in the United States, unaware that they will fall into an incredible trap called Tower 2022. The film begins with a demonstration of a group of climbers, as suddenly Dan is blown away in front of Beckley and Shiloh. 51 weeks later, Beckley thought about his loss every day, always tapping his voicemails. One day, her father named Nikon. Or to be more accurate, James tries to explain that she needs to move on with her life. But she doesn't really like that. Because of this, Beckley constantly freaks out, going off on her own. Moments before she is eliminated, she manages to get distracted by Shiloh, who urgently needs a partner to climb the TV tower, where she can scatter Dan's ashes. Thus begins the duo's journey. In the evening they decide to grab a bite to eat, and while they're talking Shiloh adds that he'll make a stunning video and the likes will pour in from all directions. He also tells her that the tower has been abandoned for years and is due for demolition very soon. A new day dawns. Shiloh immediately proceeds to record a video explaining the dimensions of that tower. The height is over 600 meters, and they want to climb to the very top. As they approach the tower, the duo realizes that the passageway is blocked. All that remains is to walk on their own. They have only a little water for supplies. After all, they expect to be home by lunch. The ascent will consist of several stages. First they have to climb 550 meters inside the steel frame, then 60 meters up the outer staircase, where they'll be waiting at the foot. Beckley immediately asks to stay out of the way, but Shelley manages to talk her down. So the duo begin their climb up the rather rotten stairs. Even the outer bindings are beginning to fail little by little, as suddenly the railing comes off, but Beckley manages to get a grip. Halfway up, the duo take a short break at the height of the Eiffel Tower, where they can see all around them. A little later, they do pass the first leg, but Berkeley becomes afraid of heights while Shiloh crawls on. Seeing all this, Beckley decides to climb after her after all. Things go pretty well at first, but satellite dishes get in their way and even their duo slowly but pass. Shiloh, and on a whim, starts shaking the ladder, causing Bolt to fly out of his puzzles, just as the opposite Bolt does. But the duo climbs to the very top. After a couple of Beckley entries spray Dan's ashes all over the place. All that remains is to go back down to the ground, not yet aware that the ladder will fail, tearing Beckley down. Shiloh even miraculously manages to catch on, keeping Berkeley from falling and dragging Berkeley back to the top out of his last effort. Really, how do you get back down now? There is absolutely no signal. But they find binoculars and a flare, while the backpack, with supplies lying on the plates. As suddenly the duo notice a wound on Beckley's leg and Shiloh immediately bandages it up, thinking that help is on its way. Shiloh, as always, records a couple of videos. A little while later, Shiloh, trying to see something through the binoculars, notices a certain van, but apparently abandoned. By this time, 5 hours have passed and the connection still hasn't appeared. But the amount of likes makes it clear that the connection was still just a little lower. They come up with the idea of attaching the phone to a rope and lowering it 15 meters down, recording the message. But this goes nowhere. Then, Beckley decides to drop the phones by sticking it in his sneakers. But does it work? They don't know. But the binoculars show a man with a dog and a broken phone. Beckley tries to reach him using his shoe. But he doesn't get the idea to look at the top of the tower. Night approaches. Beckley launches a rocket, and this time they are seen. Instead of helping them, though, they just steal their car. Deep into the night, Beckley notices on Shiloh's leg a code 143. So Dan says he does. To which she admits she has been in a relationship with him for 4 months behind Beckley's back. A new day arrives, they are still figuring things out. By this time 2400 has passed, and since the backup never came, the plan with the shoe has clearly failed. But they get the idea to get the backpack where the quadcopter is. True, to do so they have to take a risk and personally descend a couple of meters. Shiloh instantly proceeds to the descent, getting to the plates rather quickly. True, the reach never works. Because of this Shiloh removes the mount, jumps out on the plate, where the water supply was stored. Really, how do you get to the top now? Shiloh comes up with the idea of using a selfie stick, hooking a rope and jumping over the chasm. True, a couple of meters to the top, Shiloh accidentally falls off, but manages to snag and injures her hands, forcing Becky to hoist her back to the top alone, after which she writes a message on the back of the check they attach to the quadcopter. It is the one that is supposed to fly to the motel. But by this time the battery is practically dead. So the idea is doomed. And while that charge would have been enough to get the phone down to the communications level, the duo didn't think of that. Of what the night comes. Beckley is shocked about Sheila's disappearance. Really, it was the usual nightmare. Closer to the morning, they get another idea to climb right up to the lamp to stick it in beforehand. True, he doesn't reach the contact. Then it dawns on Beckley to use the ring as a power extension cord. And this time the charging did go. It would seem that one just has to wait for the charge, but the vulture has his own plans to eat Beckley, causing the backpack to fall to the very bottom and the Sheila to completely fail to catch it. The charge remains on 3 compartments. Now we have to wait until 10 a.m. because that's when the hotel is most crowded. At first, the duo is doing well. The drone doesn't lose communication and almost flies up to the hotel, but it gets hit by a truck, and the driver doesn't decide to approach the drone, just driving away. And this was the last hope for rescue. Toward evening, a storm in the distance begins to change, moving right on top of them. As Beckley nearly runs out of strength to fight on, forcing Shiloh to admit that she is no longer alive. Even as she snapped, she didn't catch the rope, but left this world. In her place, she was pulling out her backpack. A little later, Becky is watching a video with her father while James tries to find Becky. A new day arrives, with the prey skewered in the form of a vulture. After gaining strength, Becky decides to try to go down and use the last shoe, but already inside Sheila. Closer to nightfall, James rushes headlong to the tower, where a huge pile of rescuers has already gathered, covering Shiloh's body. Of course, James thinks it's Becky. But his fears were in vain. After all, Becky was rescued in time. That's where the movie ends with the words "was the movie recap channel," and we are going to be very interested. What do you think of this movie? Just let us know in the comments. Well, or just recommend something interesting. See you soon. Bye.